he's able to pay off his debts like that, like,
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
I would
That's
stay with him.
great. But I know that, I know that in the 60s the population was a little bit lower than now, but you got to think there was someone there that she didn't have to wait years for, you know?
Yeah. Or, can actually see from time
Yeah,
to
you can see
time.
more than once a year, you know?
Yeah. Very strange. Um, and like the very beginning of the book when we meet Norman is way different than in the movie. Like he's sitting there creepily reading this book and like, obviously they did it because they didn't want us to know that his mother was, spoiler alert,
We're gonna
not
give away
alive.
the big spoiler. So his
um
mother's not alive.
but his like in the book they have him as like a plump face with glasses, thin hair, and I remember seeing like just clips in the movie or whatever, and knowing that Norman was like a tall, lean, he was kind of charming in the movie.
Yeah, in the
Like,
movie, I mean, he's a little bit geeky, maybe, but other than that, he looks and acts more or less normal at times.
yeah,
In the book, he's a bit weirder. He's got some alcohol issues. He's very perverted. They mention about half a dozen times that he's really overweight. It's
yeah,
quite a different character, actually.
yeah. And I don't think that Norman would have been able to talk to a Mary. Like he stammers and stutters when he talks to her, but this one, he was charming. He was, very cute, and like she kind of was into it, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. Maybe they just thought that would kind of play out better on screen. That's what people were more used to. Maybe they didn't want to see a film with this kind of awkward, unattractive guy or something. I don't
Well, and
know.
also if they had a guy who looked more like that was plump and with glasses and stammered and stuff, he might be more like noticeable as the villain. Versus if you have a charming, good-looking guy, people are like, "Oh, well, it's not him. He's too
That's
good-looking
a
to
very
be
good point. Yeah.
a murderer or a
That's a great point,
psychopath."
actually, because that's quite typical in movies, especially older movies. The
Yeah,
good looking guy can't be the can't be the killer.
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. At what point did you realize what was actually going on?
Um. Well, because I, knew. Uh, but I will say when I was reading it, I said, "Is his mom already dead?" Question mark. That was like in the
Oh,
first like couple chapters. So I was like, okay, so it's him talking to her and she's not there. So I was like, okay, so she's already dead. But I wasn't quite sure. Um,
wow. I didn't pick up on that at all, like until the reveal at the end. Like I just went with everything as it presented itself to me.
well, like I said, I'd heard about the movie and heard about the plot twist, so I kind of knew about it,
Mm,
but I wasn't sure when it happened and like what the timeline was.
yeah,
Now
fair enough.
the whole thing about when and where and how his mother died, I didn't know about that. So that one kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I didn't even pick up on it, to be honest, on my first reading. Um, so yeah, in terms of the plot, I mean, they do start very differently. So the movie starts with Marion, and she's at work, and first of all, we have the scene in the hotel. Then we have the scene with her at work, and she takes the $40,000. I feel a little bit less sympathy for her in the movie, as you said. I think
Yeah.
she's a bit meaner in the movie or something. Like
Yes.
when she steals the money, you're kind of like, well, I don't know if I like you. And
Exactly. It's
then
just
yeah,
she's kind of bitchy, but I will say the work conditions kind of suck as well because they're in supposedly in Texas, I think. I think that's where she is. I know in the
yeah, I
book
think so.
she's from Texas and it is really hot. Like right now, it is sweltering outside. So to work in a building like that's brick like that is old and doesn't have AC everywhere, it would be really hot. And I would hate the living or working conditions. And then her boss has an AC office. Like
I didn't even notice that. Wow.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, because he tells his friend, well, let's go into my office. There's AC in there.
Oh, right. Because we don't really have air conditioning in the UK or Ireland, that sort of passed me by. I didn't kind of pick up on that difference, between her working conditions and his.
Yeah.
I was more struck by the fact that she has to put up with the client, like just this kind of sleazy, flirty, horrible rich guy who's, basically trying to buy her off and impress her with his money. And in the book, it's a bit more direct. He offers her $100 to spend the night. In the movie, they don't specifically say that, but
Yeah.
the sleaziness is still there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like the way that he's just throwing his money around. And, obviously they're doing illegal stuff. So the fact that she steals the money, they really, obviously that's why they don't get the cops involved, because they know that it was legally obtained.
Yeah, like he mentions, I can't remember if it appears in the book, but in the movie he does mention that he's not paying his taxes, or he kind of makes a joke, or yes, the other girl says, well, I do declare, and he says, I don't, that's why I get to keep it. So.
Yeah. Exactly. And in the movie, it seems like she knew exactly that she was going to take that money and run.
Yeah.
But in the book, it's more like, I could just take this money. Right? Yeah. I could just take this and I could go and I could help Sam pay off his debts, and then we could be together and I could be out of here.
I mean, what I always want when I'm going to get together with someone is that I have to pay them $40,000 first. Like that's a great way to go into a relationship,
Exactly. Exactly.
Whereas the book starts totally differently, as we sort of said. We have a lot of stuff about Norman. I mean, in the book, Norman is the main character, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's all about him. It's him at the hotel, the scenes of him talking to his mother. Mary's not really the main character at all. It's quite a different setup, actually. We see Norman, and he's talking to his mom. There's a lot of scenes where she's putting him down, mm-hmm. and treats him like a little boy. And there's even a bit where, can't quite remember exactly how far in this is, but there's a bit where he offers to fix a cot for her, a little bit, about a third of the way into the book. And he says, you should essentially be put away into the insane asylum. And she says, yes, Norman, I suppose you're right. That's where I should be, but I wouldn't be there alone. So what I like about that is that type of dialogue, for me, preserved the facade that they were two different characters. Because, you're seeing dialogue between them, whereas in the movie, you kind of don't. You never really see or hear much from the mum. Maybe there's some off-screen stuff, but I think that, in a written format, it's a lot easier to preserve that for longer. Whereas in the movie, it's like, well, I haven't seen the mum, not really hearing from her. You get doubts a bit quicker, I think.
Yeah, because at one point in the book, after Mary has died, his mom says, let the dead, or no, he says, let the dead bury the dead. And I put a hint, and maybe that was because he is thinking his mom killed her, and now he has to clean up everything because she has killed her. And we don't know that his mom is dead. So I was like, oh, maybe that was a hint, the dead buried the dead.
Yeah, I guess that is a hint. And that's interesting. I didn't pick up on that. Maybe if I were to read it again, I would. But it's one of those things that, there probably are. If you were to read it again after watching the film, or even after finishing the book and knowing how it ends, there probably are one or two little hints thrown in along the way that you don't necessarily pick up on. Although it sounds like you picked up on quite a lot. You were very, very clued in with this one. I did not know what was happening at all.
Yeah.
So let's say what actually happens, shall we? So we have Mary steals the money. The movie makes a whole big to-do about her doing the rental car business. In the book, she swaps her car twice, and it's one paragraph. The movie spends about 20 minutes, with the cop staring at her and going to change her car. And I don't know why that scene's so protracted, so extended, because we see the cop really interested in her, and then he never appears again for the rest of the film. So I don't know why we wasted time on that.